There could be severe implications for both the Miami Dolphins and the National Football League after Tua Tagovailoa was severely injured, or at least looked to be severely injured in last night's game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Tua Tagovailoa in the second quarter took a massive hit on a sack near the 50-yard line. His head whiplashed off the ground very hard, and immediately you could tell that something was wrong. His hands curled up. He went limp. He went stiff. And that is not something that you want to see happen to anyone who's playing football, regardless of what position they are. But, with Tua Tagovailoa and his name and how well known he is, obviously it's going to have everybody talking. And there was already a lot of talk from both the NFLPA and a lot of concussion advocacy experts about the handling of Tua Tagovailoa's injury last week. Because if you roll the clock back to last week against the Buffalo Bills, I believe in the second quarter, late in the second quarter as well, Tua suffered a very similar hit or a very similar injury. I mean, I think that this hit on the Thursday Night Football game was more severe from what I saw. We saw that Tua, his head kind of whiplashed off of a hit, and he tried to get up in that Buffalo Bills game. And as he's running the sideline, he just completely falls over. And that shows you that, I mean, again, I'm no doctor, but that definitely shows you that something was wrong. Yet he was allowed to continue to compete and play in the rest of the game last week. Forward to this week, the Dolphins are on a short week, a 3-day week. And somehow Tua Tagovailoa, who seemed to at least have some sort of head injury last week, was allowed to play on a very short week, Thursday Night Football on the road. And this, all the while, we know that when you have a concussion or when you have a severe head injury, the likelihood of you suffering another injury in a shorter amount of time is higher because your head is still recovering. You're still trying to heal. Your body's still trying to heal. And that healing process needs rest. It needs time and to get back to full strength. And again, the worst possible scenario for the Miami Dolphins happened. Going into this game, the NFLPA was already investigating the handling of this because you could clearly see last week that Tua Tagovailoa was falling over. And after this week, they did release a statement after this latest incident or this latest hit on Tua Tagovailoa that actually sent him to the hospital. That's the other thing that I forgot to mention. Tua Tagovailoa went to a Cincinnati hospital. He went to, I believe, a level 1 trauma center. He was released as far as we know, and as of last night, he was traveling back with the team. This is the statement from the NFLPA in regards to the latest injury to Tua Tagovailoa. They say, and I quote, "Player health and safety is at the core of the union's mission. Our concern tonight is for Tua, and we hope for a full and speedy recovery. Our investigation into the potential protocol violation is ongoing." So that speaks to something else that's going on here. There is a protocol violation investigation happening from the NFLPA. DeMaurice Smith said that they are, the head of the union said that they are going to take any and all action they can to make sure that players in the future are safe and make sure that Tua Tagovailoa is safe. And as far as the Miami Dolphins go, they lost last night. They had Teddy Bridgewater in there. He played fine. And as far as what the future might be for them, I mean, don't be surprised if there are legal ramifications to this because, again, I'm not an expert in concussions. I'm not an expert in the NFL's protocol. However, to allow someone who clearly was having trouble balancing themselves, and this is back in the Bills game, Tua was clearly having trouble balancing himself, getting upright, falling over. Something tells me that person should not be taking hits in a football game, at least for that day, maybe for a week ahead. But he was taking hits that day again, and he was taking hits just 3 days later again. And one of those hits landed him in the hospital. So for people who want to say, well, football is a sport where you get hit, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a sport where you get hit. But the whole point of these protocols, these health and safety protocols, are to keep the players safe, to protect the players from themselves, to protect the players from long-term neurological damage, which Tua Tagovailoa, if he takes another bad hit, could very well be suffering from. If these protocols weren't in place, Tua might not have been on the field in this past game because he went completely out. But imagine if he comes back the next week. Imagine if he comes back the next week and takes another similar hit. Because it's, as we found out on Thursday night, it's very possible. It only takes one. It only takes one. And people out there want to say that, well, you know what, maybe I think people are blowing this out of proportion. People are making too big of a deal out of it. They should be making an even bigger deal out of this. Because we saw what we saw last night on television, right? Or on Prime. What we saw was a guy go out. His body just stiff up and his fingers curl. Immediately you're thinking worst case scenario with Tua Tagovailoa. And that can't happen. It shouldn't have been allowed to happen. It shouldn't happen again. And the NFLPA in this investigation and in their follow-up to this must go hard at the NFL. They got to go hard at the NFL, the Miami Dolphins, the doctors who, in my opinion, probably broke protocol by allowing Tua to come back in the Bills game and then play on Thursday Night Football in a short week. They got to come down hard because at a certain point, if we're serious about player safety like the NFL says they are, if we're serious about that, this can't be allowed to happen. And again, our thoughts, prayers to Tua Tagovailoa. All indications are that he is doing well. He was conscious later on, so that's a good sign. But this can't be allowed to happen. And especially when all this talk about the NFL wants to get serious about CTE and post-concussion syndrome and all that stuff. Act like it. Guys, let me know what you guys think, though, in the comment section below about all of this. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released.